good evening, and happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to one and to all. Perhaps it is Wednesday, depending upon where you are on the globe. We are here with another edition, a weekday edition of Adult Conversations with Cynda, family, and friends. Tonight we will be discussing effective communication with men and women, and we'll close out with holiday health. So, thank you to those that will be joining and those who may catch the replay. Thank you all again so much. And without further delay, I will bring on the host, Miss Cynda Williams and friends.
Hi, everyone. All right. We're almost in winter time. Yeah.
Indeed.
I'm not excited about that, but anyway. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this month's version of Adult Conversations. I'm so excited to be with you guys and to have my girl, my baby girl, my sister Sadika Rose. What's up? Say hi, and my main man, mentor, uncle, bestie, James W. Williams is with us.
Howdy.
And of course, my girl Doe Eyes, which you guys already know and love, is with us tonight. And hopefully she's going to stick around for the conversation while we wait for who's coming in also?
King BJ. But he said to go ahead. Yes, you remember him. Very cool guy. So we can go ahead and start. And let's see who's left comments really quickly. We have Baka and James Patterson. Unfortunately, Nightbot. I've got to learn how to program Nightbot. So again, we're going to be speaking about effective communications. And let me put this up really quickly, Miss Cynda, and you can browse it real quick and take it from there.
Okay. So I'm going to just read this because this is kind of like moving into the solutions part of communications. So this is what somebody says. To effectively communicate with both men and women, focus on active listening, being mindful of potential gender-based communication style differences, avoiding assumptions, clearly stating your point, and adapting your approach to the situation and individual while always respecting the other person's perspective and feelings. Generally, women may tend towards more relational communication, while men might lean towards more direct problem-solving approaches. So all that sounds really logical and smart. Unfortunately, it's rare that those things happen. It's almost like you need a mediator for people to behave like that. So I thought we would start off with some storytelling. You know, everybody can share as much as they'd like about communication lapses. And I have had many of those, if I'm going to be honest. I've had multiple relationships, multiple marriages, and I think I'm a very good communicator. It's really crazy. I'm like, I communicate so well. But if you're not speaking the language of the person that you're with and you both aren't communicating, is very difficult. The reason why we decided to do this is because we've noticed, Doe Eyes and I have recognized the fact that, especially on social media, there's been a lot of difficulties between men and women, especially with the political landscape, the way things were there, that male versus female, can a woman be president kind of thing, and all of that. And then there's been, I don't know why, Now, I don't have this algorithm, but I've been hearing about it. And if I come across something on social media with this kind of derogatory stuff, I don't listen. I might listen, but then I don't comment. I don't engage it any, because I've heard a lot of man bashing and woman bashing. There's been a lot of that. And so Joe Eyes and I were like, you know what, maybe this is something we need to talk about, because it seems like pretty horrible right now when it comes to what's happening. And so how to get over that is to maybe communicate. I don't know. Um, so before I get into any storytelling, you guys have an opening comment about it. Sadi Rose, you have anything you want to say as to open us up?
Oh man, I gotta be the opener. I was hoping to feed off
Well,
of.
I just kind of did. You don't have to tell a story first. It's just, you have any comments that you make, like an overview comment, before we really dive into specifics.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really comes down to really understanding the feminine and masculine aspects in all of ourselves. And I think if we could have enough self-awareness to know, how we best communicate, but also how we best communicate, whether it's with another woman or a man, and like certain things that, you know, like that we know that are inherently different among men and women. There are these stereotypes that, that are may or may not be accepted in terms of what we expect from either a woman or a man. And then I think it gets more interesting when we start breaking it down according to race, right, and ethnicity, in terms all the norms that go with it. So it's actually a really complicated, I think, topic that, I'm sure we could talk about forever. But I do think that if we could start looking at it not just as an external issue in terms of how we're communicating with the other gender, but also start looking at it internally to just see if there are parts of ourselves that are out of balance. Like, I'm aware that I've had to probably lean in. I very much am a strong woman, and and I'm proud of being a woman, but I also am aware that I've had to be more on my masculine energy, because I'm a single mother of four, and I've had to take care of my family and myself. So that makes me a little bit more assertive, in my relationship, not just, in terms of intimate relationships, just my relationships with all men. So I think it does require us to have a bit of, or a lot actually, of self-awareness in order to inform the broader conversation, in addition to how we're just interacting with each other in relationship.
True. Very true. That's, to me, un numero uno, what you just said. That balance between the masculine and feminine in us all um, has to be maneuvered and worked through and processed. Totally agree. We'll get more into that. James, do you have an opening comment about this?
Well, thank you. Just so I try not to put assumptions on people that I meet, whether it's a he or she, or male, female. I try not to assume one is one way and the other is another way. I try to think in terms of human beings, human to human. I try to. Now, I'm not totally successful in all ways, but that's what I try to do, because I want to give people the benefit of the doubt, or benefit of me not knowing exactly where he or she is coming from. And so I give a person, especially a lady, you a female, a benefit of the doubt, and not to think in terms of her being better or worse than anyone that I've met or anyone that I know. and that's because as some of you have already experienced this, I've been to a lot of places in a lot of different countries and a lot of different cultural ideations, a lot of different mental health persuasions. And so the more of the variety of people, it really cautions you to be careful and to be attentive and to be less uh, uh, dominant in conversations or perceptions. And so I try not to be very perceptive and give the person the benefit of the doubt. Now, if that person doesn't fall within the boundaries of what I think and believe or I enjoy personally, well, then that's okay as well. It doesn't mean that I am supposed to connect with all people at all times. So that's my perspective of it. How's that?
That's probably wisdom from years on earth.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is King BJ, are you there? Are you there yet, sir?
I'm here.
Hi. Do you have an opening comment about overview about communications between males and females?
Well, let me tell you something. I was really trying to get my Gmail stuff in because I got a new phone 2 weeks ago, and I hadn't been on StreamYard on the phone. So I kind of I saw the thing about gender assumptions, but I was so busy trying to go back to my emails and stuff like that, trying to open this up. I made a miss that some of it, but I went back in and got it. So I put everything there. I had to log in, my pen and all this other stuff. It was kind of crazy. These phones don't never work right, but it's okay. Now, with the overview of what you're saying, right?
About the we're talking about communications between men and women these days, because there's been a lot of, it seems like it's been a lot of misses happening lately. There's been a lot of people very frustrated with the other gender, and part of that is the background landscape of what's happening in our world, all that. But especially with this last election, a lot of feelings were revealed that people have for each other that were shocking and a little upsetting to us all, because we didn't understand that that people felt the way they feel, and so that comes down to communication.
Two
So,
feelings, two feelings get exposed. I will say this. I got a book at home, and when I get there, I can show it to you. It's called Against Feminism. But, I mean, the stuff you're talking about are creations of the CIA and what I call DARPA and military mind control. When we talk about these things, we have to realize that we are under military experiment, even as far as gender divide. Because that if you want to start win any war, you got to divide people. That's a fact. So that's why they do these gender divide and all that. But we don't understand that both hands are working together. That's why you were talking about the political cycle. The one thing about it, they kept on saying, "Oh, hers is this, hers is that." I'm like, and then you ask people a week later after those, "Oh, I was just voting for she was the one." They'll tell you, man, maybe. As a matter of fact, you know, some women come out and say now they're not even going to be in the politics. So they going on cruise indications, all that. They tired of being used up by the political establishment. I said, well, it didn't take an election to tell you that. You should have known that before that, right? But I would say this, that when we have to realize that we're in the midst of a big social engineering experiment, when you get into social engineering, that divides men and women by itself. I mean, and it can be the smallest of things, or it can be the biggest of things. But I mean, just think about it. I mean, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna go on mute. I mean, you had a woman named Amanda Cow who come on Joe Reed show and NBC and said that look, I know this may sound hard, but if your family voted a certain way, you didn't like it, don't let them come over to Thanksgiving. Don't deal with them for the holidays. That's what she said. She's supposed to be a psychiatrist. So I think she should be disbarred from being a psychiatrist to have a license with. That's just me. But then Joe Reed comes out and says a couple of days later. So when you have people pushing the envelope of a gender divide, people are fragile minded, some people, and will fall for the propaganda. So that's what happens. And that's why you have the divide you have going on now. It's not by accident, it's all by design. Go back to the Moynihan report from the 1960s after the Civil Rights Bill, the Civil Great Society Act, excuse me, the Lyndon B. Johnson. And the Moynihan report said, when it was happened then, it happened there. Lyndon B. Johnson said, I have been Democrat for the next 120 years, and he's passed a quarter of a century.
Well, did y'all get all of that? To be honest with you, King BJ, I didn't want to interrupt you, but it was kind of difficult to understand. Your microphone is kind of muted. It's an interesting, man, I hate that I missed some of that. I was really trying hard. So when you get in your place, then I want you to come back and really, I think the main thing that I got from what you said was how to divide us. Things are happening to divide us. So those are the agendas of the higher ups and the people that run things, that they push those narratives to separate us further. I think that's what one of the main things I got from what you said.
Give me about 10 minutes. I'll come back and break it all down.
Okay, babe. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. I just want to tell you, Doe, and everyone else, I have a special guest that would like to join us also, and I would love to have her perspective because she's a Gen Z, and she's my daughter, Sophia Plummer. So if she comes on, that's who it is. There she is. Oh, hey, Sophie.
Hey, can you hear me?
Hey there, pretty girl.
Yeah. So
Hi.
everyone, this is my daughter, Sophia Gabrielle. Obviously, it's raining somewhere. You outside?
Yeah, it's raining here.
Oh, okay. I did not expect that. That was she wanted to come in on this conversation. Thank you,
I can only join for like 8 minutes, but
okay. Well, you want to say what you think? We're talking about the communications with women and men relationships.
yeah, actually it was so crazy. When I got a message from you earlier, I just looked. It was like a video, and so I went to it and looked at it, and then I just happened to scroll up after it, and it was like a thing exactly like what we were talking about. It was about communicating and how the approach that we take, the Western view approach that we take to relationships not working is the outside in method instead of the inside out. So that means communicating on the inside what you want and then getting it from them, and then asking it from them all the time, and then but the really approach that you should take to knock off time and years of time is the inside out approach, which would be coping and healing or reparenting your inner child who you got these traumas from, and then fixing yourself, and then on the outside, then your relationship will thus change from that.
Exactly.
So exactly. I think it was perfect for what you guys were talking about.
Exactly. And that is, I was just talking to somebody today too, because this has been an ongoing conversation I've been having, and there's some stuff that happened to me recently that I've been working through that I hadn't told anybody until recently, and it comes down to what you said, and what I said to someone today was, my relationships are getting better now because I decided to stop being in a relationship for a while, because I needed to work on me. I kept getting into the same relationships. They just had different faces, different jobs, and different locations. But it was the same pattern with everyone because of my inner turmoil and my trauma that I had not fully healed from. I had just been jumping, running from relationship to relationship
Yeah.
because I just didn't want to be alone, and I wanted love, and I wanted things to work. But until I started spending some time learning to love me, getting to know me, and healing myself, there's no way I can be with someone else and communicate with someone else when everything I hear comes at me as I respond to what daddy did, or what that guy did, or what this guy, or what
Yeah.
I did, or whatever. So everything I hear is marred by my own trauma.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's saying. He broke it down. He was talking about the, you know, how the amygdala basically takes over, and like it's the fight or flight. So all that rational sense when you're in those conversations just goes out the window, and because you're so traumatized from your childhood, that takes control. So you got to reparent that side so that you don't think like that anymore. You got to do the opposite of what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's key. I saw something today that was really meaningful to me. I sent it to somebody, I don't know. I think I sent it to you, Sophia. It was looking at how genuine a person is, right? And it breaks down all these different ways of how people are and what's really going on. Like, for instance, the first one, if a person lacks accountability, they're going to shift the blame, right? So when you're communicating with someone and they lack accountability, they're going to shift the blame back to you or to anybody else. But what this person was also saying was, everything on this list of tools to understanding someone else, hi, Tiago, goes back to you, because you do have to heal yourself before you can heal another relationship, you know. So, King, I know you wanted to jump in on that one. Sophia, I saw you like almost leap at the camera.
No, I was in total agreement,
Mm-hmm.
and I could understand where she's coming from. It made a lot of sense, and I think that people ought to be cognizant of that and to be aware of that and to understand that position. So I was just celebrating
Mm-hmm.
Sophia. I've not heard her speak as much as she's speaking now. So it was kind of exciting just to hear her give a perspective without coaching. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so it was great.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know you don't have that much time, Sophia. You have anything else you want to share?
No, I just it was so interesting because it was just talking about how we're so like people instead of going to the inside out, they try to go to talk therapy, or they try to go to like, you know, couples therapy or something like that. But you know, the problem with that is people rely on like their fight, like we were talking about, the fight or flight responses, and so nothing ever works, nothing ever gets past that, because people don't, you know, people don't look on the inside, people don't do the inside out method. And so
Right.
I really think that is like the most important, and that'll help everybody. I think like that's like, well, you can't help anybody who's going to gaslight you, or who's going to do something like, who can't take, you know, some types of like accountability, but even that is like a trauma response. And so um yeah, I just think it all starts on the inside.
Yep.
Yepper.
Exactly. And it's so cool that you, as a 22-year-old woman, know that. You know what I'm saying? How old was I when I started realizing that? Maybe a few years ago. And I'm not going to say my age. you know. But you're learning that now, and that goes to show the maturity of you and the maturity of younger people these days. They're learning things that we weren't taught, you know. That's the good side of social media.
Yeah.
You know. Mm.
Well,
Very
but I
good.
guess I gotta go. I gotta
All
go.
right. Thank you for
All right,
your
Thank you
input.
for
Sophia. Take
helping
care,
me.
baby.
Yay.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Yeah.
I have a thought or
Mhm.
question, and I'm going to direct it to Mr. James.
Yes,
How
ma'am.
much of this would you relate to personality types? And according to Myers Briggs, I'm an INTJ. Uh, Everything about an INTJ, I believe, describes me. And even with that, even with all of the good traits, I still find myself having difficulty with communication with certain
Communication.
people. Yes, and I'll go on mute. Thank you so much, sir.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's yeah. I understand. I understand. The reason, one thing is it's difficult for me to answer that because my gifts and graces is relative to some perception that others may not have. And so when I get that, it's confusing to me because from my perspective, I look on another human being from another dimension sometimes, or another way of looking at people, or I look on the inside and be able to see things. As an example for you, young lady, I just heard your voice the first time I heard you, I looked and saw things relative to you, as we're talking about communication. I saw things relative to you that I didn't know, but I learned by hearing your voice and not even seeing your face, but just hearing your voice and the way your style of delivery. And that comes from theater, I think, a lot of it from theater, understanding people, understanding different cultural variations, and having the gift, and I'm not putting myself up or anything like that, or having the gift of really looking inside and seeing a person and understanding a person, which gives me a better idea as to who I'm dealing with. And it's not based upon whether or not I like that person or care for that person or what culture that person is coming from. It's just based upon the persona, that inward quality of life that I'm able to see sometimes and able to understand. So that's my way of looking at people. Even if I know that person, I exercise that advantage from my perspective. And I enjoy it. I enjoy it because it cut out a lot of criticism and a lot of presumed understanding. And it cut out a lot of my own personal likes and dislikes because it has nothing to do with that. It has something to do with the quality of character, the quality of person that I'm dealing with. And so that's the way I feel about it. Thank you.
Can you hear me good now?
Yes.
Is this better?
Yes. 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 Thank you,
All
King.
right. All right,
Hmm.
I'm back. All right, listen. All right. So I wanted to go back on what I said. I don't know where people didn't hear me, but I said the gender divide, and I said that you had a scientist named, not a psychologist, excuse me, named Amanda Calhoun. She's at Yale University, and she said, when she was talking to Joy Reid on MSNBC, she said that if your family did not vote the way you wanted them to, it's okay to not deal with your family for Thanksgiving or Halloween. Tell them you're not happy with them. Didn't they do the same thing doing a certain medical experiment they did like 4 years ago? Same thing, divide. But if you go back to the Great Society Act of Lyndon B. Johnson, Lyndon B. Johnson. In there, they had a guy, I think they had the Moynihan report, and it said everything that would happen. You would have gender divides. You would separate basically because what you do, you know, government assistance, subsidized housing, whatever you call it, on that front. Then they had the feminist movement and all those civil rights groups coming around at the same time. Well, he did say they would have you voting 100 to 200 years, but what he really should have mentioned is that the gender divide isn't going for that much long or longer because that caused a great deal of society to fracture, especially now. And then you also had women that were saying now that they didn't get the outcome they wanted. They're saying, well, we're not going to be used up by the party anymore. We're going on vacation, things like that. But you were talking about social media. Well, that can also cause a gender divide. Actually, that's a big part of gender divide because a lot of people using filters on what they look like. You know, it can, social media can be a gift and a curse. It can be a gift that are we talking right now, but the curse can be you can either start to think so much of yourself, or you can think so low of yourself. This thing can really tip the scales. But I just want to go back, and I want to say something about Facebook. When I was like 18, 20, Facebook was only a way for college kids really to, connect. That's what it really was mostly about. But they actually said we're going to start using this. Well, they were using it that was by the CIA too, and all that. We're going to use this as a surveillance program, and we gather information on people. But they knew that you could use this for any purpose. So that's what people have to understand, that what's used as diabolical can be used for good, but what's used for good can always be used as diabolical as well. And when we realize that some of these things, I mean, you might be walking down the street. I'm sure Miss Cynda, Doaz, anybody on the panel, Mr. James, young lady, you could be walking down the street, and people be still on their phones. They won't even say hi. You probably had that happen before. They don't mean no harm, but they just so, in the vortex, right? So when you look at it, I mean, the conditions of society, in any war or anything you try and divide, you must create friction between both. But when you creating friction between man and woman, you actually interfering with the circle of life. And that's what it's intended to do. Like I say, when I get home, I got a book against feminism. I'll show you the author, and it talks all about it. I mean, but these are all experimentations of the CIA. Always start from the top. You can start from the bottom if you want to, but if you come top down, you realize that you have these scientists, mad scientists actually, that say, hey, this is how you destroy humanity.
Yeah, I agree that that the whole algorithm thing, my algorithms on my different platforms, because I have to do it for my business. I have to be on social media. Nowadays, they used to look at, pictures and your work, and you could get work from that. Now they look at your numbers. So that's the very first thing that all producers look at is how many followers do you have? And you are not considered unless you have the kind of followers they want. So I have to do it. But I learned very early on, because I've been doing it since the beginning, that you can control your algorithm. And so if content comes to me that I perceive as divisive, as harmful to others, whatever, I do not engage it. I just keep it moving, because the algorithm picks up what you believe, what you think, whatever. And if anybody has a bad day and they go on there and they like and comment and share some venting thing, this raging thing, they start getting it all the time, and it's like an onslaught of this kind of negative stuff, and that's what really happened with men and women, except for especially Black women and Black men. I believe that algorithm is created an even stronger division, and I think it has been purposefully done, as you say, because divided we fall. Divided we fall.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this is like going in a completely different direction than the original topic, which was just how men and women talk to each other. But if you don't even realize that you've been being manipulated by other people with different agendas than seeing your best, seeing the best for you, and it doesn't stop with just women and men. It stops with, I mean, it starts with all races, people from different cultures, people from different backgrounds, you know, the LGBTQ, that community, all these different, they can't do anything if we're unified. If we find a way to love each other and work together, the 1% or whatever could never control things. It couldn't control them. If we found how we could be unified and work together, they couldn't control.
Your daughter made a good point as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's right about looking at the inside, because I know I call these doctors or psychiatrists or counselor therapy, I call them, for the most part, middle men or middle women, whatever. Why do I say that? Because when you pay attention to what they do, they get you, but they put you on medication a lot, and that may not help. And the counselor, you may be good. You may be the best counselor in the world.
I am.
But in the day, well, that's even better. But guess what? And sometimes, sooner or later, that person got to look at themselves as well.
True.
It starts with the inside, because, then you can deal with the outside. As I said, but some people are just so locked in to what's going on. This is how you make assumptions on people. I know you said benefit of the doubt, and you can see how it's going, and things like, things of that nature. Well, guess what? That life is becoming very, very, I would say right now, contentious for a lot of people, socially, economically, mentally. So when you're counseling, you probably hear all types of issues that people bring up.
Yep, I do.
Okay. I'm not going to get into, what those issues are. A lot of them are. I mean, but sometimes, this is what I tell people that talk to me, and I'm not even a counselor. Well, I am a counselor because I can counsel, but as far as definition by trade, right? Here's the deal, and I always say this. Very interesting. Did you wake up? Did you wake up this morning?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have food, air, water? Now it could be tainted. Now I just being honest, it could be tainted now with things going on. But did you have food, air, and water? If you had them three, all right. What's the other 5% you got to worry about? Let's deal with the 95% first of what's going on, and we deal with the other 5%, because if the first 95% is covered, don't worry about the rest of it so much. Don't kill yourself over the rest. That's what I say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that, it goes back to that gratitude thing. If people could be reminded of, if they could find their way back to the center and really look at their lives where they are right now, because we definitely have a unhoused group of people that would not agree with this. They just like, well, I look outside and I see, somebody else's car. You know what I mean? There's different kind of people, but they are breathing. They have access to help, and so we all could find ways to hi Michael, to be grateful, to be thankful. um, but some people are so deeply into depression or anxiety or whatever, they can't see beyond the depression, and I speak as a expert on depression and anxiety. There were times in my life where I couldn't see anything positive, but I got to the point, King, I got to the point where I was tired of being depressed and I was
Yeah.
tired of being sad. And so I became proactive in my healing.
Good.
And unfortunately, like, you can go see a counselor or a therapist or a psychiatrist or anybody over and over again, but until you're ready to heal yourself, you're not going to heal. There's not one therapist in the world that's going to be able to help you if you're not willing to help yourself and even know you have a problem. Because
Absolutely.
many people go to therapists thinking that that's a place where they can vent about how wrong everybody else is and never take accountability for the things that they're doing. And
Exactly.
until you actually accept that the issue starts with you, you know then you can't, no one can help you. You can't change anyone, and therapists can't change anyone. They could just help someone, open the door for someone to help themselves, you know
Exactly.
Sadika, we haven't heard from you. What do you think?
I think it comes back to kind of how I started us off with. We're understanding that each of us has masculine and feminine aspects to ourselves, and understanding how society and our cultures tell us how we should act. I feel like the way that we've set up a lot of our expectations of men and women are flawed and really need to be re-examined, because a lot of times, especially men, are taught to suppress their emotions and to really not be vulnerable, which can lead to a lot of breakdowns in communications and in relationships. A man should be strong, but a man should be strong enough to be vulnerable enough with the people that love him, not just the woman that he is with, to be able to be open enough to connect and relate and be warm and enough to make that woman feel, whatever woman, his daughter, his mother, his sister, to feel protected. And so that, that person, that woman can relate to him as well. And on the other side of that, women are taught and are more just naturally able to connect and be expressive with their emotions, which can lead to a lot of times men saying, oh, well, women complain a lot, they nag, they nitpick, and um, versus just really listening, because 9 times out of 10, a woman probably will not keep saying the same things if you just listen. So, you know, just really understanding how we're taught from a very young age about these expectations and how men should hold themselves, how women should hold themselves. And even historically, like if, I challenged someone recently because they were talking about how, grandma was always in the kitchen, never complained, always did everything, and held it down. But I remember looking back at our ancestors that a lot of our grandmothers have went through so much and did everything, never had a voice, because of whatever reasons, would take a lot, everybody's stuff, and never really get the support that they would need. But all along, those women probably were livid inside. And a lot of those women would just not even communicate, which would naturally put them in opposition to, men. So I just, and that carries on with our children. They notice these things. They see the quality of our connections. They see the type of relationships that we have. And ideally we would want our children to see warm relationships with good communication, where especially a man and a woman can be vulnerable enough to have that kind of connection and that kind of truth between the two of them. So I just think that those things definitely complicate relationships between men and women, as well as, the different communication styles, where men are usually more practical, and what they're saying, versus women who are more about empathy and compassion. And so just understanding those things about the just, different types of way. I also think power dynamics play a major role in all of this. Because men are thought to be the head of the household, but women are the head of household in their own respect as well, just in a different way, and the two don't necessarily have to clash against each other. A man, is to protect and to lead his family. A woman is taking care of the household and the children, depending on what kind of living situation or work environment that's going on. But I feel like a lot of times this whole dominance or competition of dominance also, plays a role in why we have all this breakdown in relationships, because people are always trying to control each other versus love each other. It's the fear versus love approach. And so, I always say, if God doesn't want to control me, then why do you? And that's the same thing that it relates to in terms of relationships. We don't own each other. We should not try to own each other. We should try to complement each other and uplift each other and water each other and nourish each other instead of trying to own each other. And I think that power dynamic, that control, also plays a role as to why there is this imbalance in a lot of relationships between men and women that we see today.
Yeah, I think that that's a lack consciousness. A lot of people think when they think about lack, they're thinking about money. But people that seek power feel powerless. That's why they seek power, because something in their lives have made them feel powerless. So in order for them to feel better, they do things they claw for power. A really powerful person doesn't have to try. They just are. A really powerful person doesn't have to control, because all they have to do is control themselves. If you control yourself, then you're in control. You don't have to control him or her or them or your coworkers or anybody. I can always tell a secure human being, male or female, that knows who they are and are secure and feel worthy. Every time I encounter a person that has issues with that, I know it's because somewhere in their life they have felt worthless, they have felt powerless, helpless, etc., etc. And then that goes back to the inside out work that Sophia was talking about. It always goes back there. What happened to a person to lead them into that. And I've been in those situations before because I'm good at getting stories out of people about who they are. And once I learn how a person is, I understand why they are the way they are. That doesn't always mean you stay, because you understand the trauma that they experienced, and that's how they became this person, because I can't force them to change and grow and seek help. So it doesn't mean I'm going to stick with somebody just because I understand why they're damaged the way they are.
Yeah, and I think on that note, like just in terms of healing your inner child, I feel like a lot of times women feel like they could change men.
Mm-hmm.
And or that a baby coming into a situation will change a man, and that won't change that man. And a man that can't possibly change a woman that doesn't want to be changed to heal that wounded inner child, because a lot of times the trauma that we have is unresolved trauma from our childhood. Um, what a real true balance looks like between men and women is allowing us to mirror each other and to mirror things about each other, and then to accept those things and to try to process it and have patience and work with each other, so that even if we aren't communicating exactly the best way with each other, or we're speaking past each other, we can work on those things together to heal, to improve, to grow. Because I really do feel like every relationship that we have in our life is to provide that contrast, so that we can see things about ourselves. What is triggering us? What are the things that we don't like? What are the things that we do like? So that way we can decide whether we want to bring people closer to us, or if we want to push them away from us. That's the real give and take of life, and on all of these relationships. So I think that, men and women, like, rather than it being, I know best because of XYZ, and because I'm a man, then you just listen, you just do as I say, then like that's not going to work, especially for a lot of women that are becoming, having to be truly heads of their own household as more women are working and becoming independent. There has to be this mutual respect, and at the same time there has to be this give and take. A strong woman who is more into her masculine energy, because she's had to fight, she's had to protect herself. When she gets a good man and she's in a relationship with a good man, she has to learn how to soften up and open up her heart and allow him to lead, to have that confidence in him, to allow him to lead. And same thing for a man, who might have been coming from a troubled past, troubled relationships, when it comes to women wanting things from him, maybe exploiting him, maybe not really appreciating him, to be able to trust that woman, to not be so insecure with that woman, to not always assume that she's on, doing something. So it really is a give and take on both sides.
Mm-hmm. King, what do you have any thoughts to add to what we're saying while we get ready to wrap up this conversation and move on to the next?
No, I believe that what is being said this evening is very relative to lives and to our personal lives, and I think it's been really helpful, and I'm glad to hear it, and I appreciate the comments, and I think it's going very well.
Okay. What about you, King BJ?
Like I said, I think it's a lot of things got to be talked about in there. This thing about you know, people protecting and leading. I've always, well, let me say something, because she brought something up about, I think, grandma back, because my grandmother, I think she worked like a maid or something, and, but when I was born, she did keep me the majority of the time. And so yeah, I think she died when I was 14. Yeah, she did die when I was 14 in February of 2002. But I look at it like, I wouldn't say, I think that the women working at the rate they are today, like I go back to the social experiment. That was not really how it was, things were going. But that was a part of the feminist movement, power movement, and that was a big part of the vision too. I do understand how people can, um, look at it this masculine, feminine thing. And I think that the word vulnerable. Yeah, who you being vulnerable to? That's how I look at it, right? Who you being vulnerable to? Because some people, you open yourself up to can put you in some real bad situations. They use that against you. So always be aware of your surroundings and people you're dealing with, as I always say, when these type of situations come about.
Yeah,
But I
but
do
being
understand.
vulnerable with any nobody probably isn't wise.
Exactly.
But if you trust so much someone that you're married, hopefully you know them well enough that you want to open up to them just like they open up to you. I don't think you should be vulnerable with strangers, but if you know somebody, if you've known somebody for some
Oh yeah,
time,
definitely.
you know, and if you don't trust them and you can't be vulnerable with them, you shouldn't marry them. You know
Well,
that
that's the first part. Hey, look, that was a perfect way to say that because, um, that might be the first part. But however, now I
Mhm.
will say this about you said about the marriage thing. I just want to bring this up. This is very interesting. One time, and it's still in other cultures actually, you couldn't just go to your dad or mom and say, um, I'm getting married because I love this person. That ain't how it used to work. It used to be more of a, you know, do our families connect? Do we have some of the same values? Things like of that nature. Not, hey, look, I met this guy at, I don't know, what's up there by you doing as Howard University. I met him at Howard and he met me. He doesn't have anything but I love him or, you know, she's got some things going at home back in the day, the situation had the line, and back then at one time they used to tell you who you was gonna marry. They were someplace they still pick husband for you today. So it's not. I mean, marriage. I mean, like I said, the way they got it today is still business, but people are getting married and divorced in I don't know 3 years. I got a friend of mine. I DJ'd his wedding. Next thing I know, he done got divorced this year. That was 5 years ago.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're
so
right. Marriage originally was a business contract between families to strengthen families. It was not about love. Love wasn't included in the equation. It's become that with the advent of romance novels and movies and all of that. And so, you know,
what's love got to do with it?
yeah, and that's why
Everything. Love's got everything to do with it.
it does have ultimately, but there's a difference between love and lust. And a lot of people think love is lust or lust is love. And that's why they're getting married because their parents
But
say
in,
you
I
can't
think
be
that kind of
physical.
I
You
think that
can't.
kind of stuff comes out, like like if 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 you really love somebody, you're gonna be vulnerable with that person. If you really love somebody, you're gonna respect that person. If you really love with somebody, you're gonna be there for them when they need you the most. If you really love somebody, you're gonna love them enough that even though that they're being real with you and telling them you telling stuff about themselves or they're seeing things about you or about themselves, they're gonna stick around and they're gonna choose to grow with you. Real, meaningful, healthy, balanced relationships with men and women, not just in relationships and intimacy, is this equal back and forth exchange of give and
Also,
take.
also, while all that is very important, if you marry someone, it is still a business when it comes because it's state sanctioned. It's you know the under God is very important, but honestly, it's about how much money we got, how much money we're growing for the legacy for the family, blah, blah, blah. There's two sides to it, you know? But these days people don't understand that. And then they get a divorce and lose everything like me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm in love, you know, and I'm vulnerable and I'm all these things, but I'm not paying attention to the fact that he's in debt and his, credit report is 400 or 300, and I'm in debt and just getting over bankruptcy, and you know what I'm saying. So there are many aspects to it, and all of those things need to be discussed and figured out before you make those decisions. But Joe Eyes, do you want to say anything before I don't know if you have any commercials or anything like that before we move on to our next topic?
No, that pretty much covered it. I'm just gonna put this last thing up, which will summarize everything that we just spoke of. Basically, understanding priorities and differences, active listening, be clear and concise, validate feelings, and one of my major problems is avoid assumptions.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. We kind of like we're all over the place because yet another subject matter that could be talked about for about 5 hours, because it's such a big thing. There's so many, there's the micro level and the macro level to everything we talk about. So do you want to do like a commercial or something, or do you want to just move right on?
Nope, we can move right along. Our next subject is, and I realize that everyone may not celebrate the holidays, but this could be in general, and it's basically holiday health. So, keeping that in mind, I'll put this up really quickly.
So when we're speaking of health here, we're talking about physical health. So the 8 tips for healthy eating: base your meals on higher fiber, starchy carbohydrates. Eat lots of fruits and vegetables. Eat more fish, including a portion of oily fish. Cut down on saturated fats and sugars. Eat less salt. No more than 6 grams a day for adults. Get active and be a healthy weight. Don't get thirsty and don't skip breakfast. And I think there might be more below. But though that's a list of, that's kind of like your daily daily rules that that kind of go out the window in the holiday season for some. Some people it's just another day, just another dollar, holidays, they still work, they still do their thing. But others, it's a time to eat and drink and be merry. And if you eat and drink and be too merry, that gym membership in January is like extra necessary. So, and it can affect your mood too, depending on how merry you're being. So I think moderation is always key. It doesn't change during the holidays. Being moderate about what you consume, whatever it is. I shoot, I'm gonna be honest, I used to be able to eat 2 plates of food. You know what I'm saying? Because I wanted everything.
I have a confession. I always would eat my dessert first, and when my mom was alive, I swear I ate the entire sweet potato pie. I could do that then because I was younger and my metabolism was very strong. I can't do that anymore. So that's my usher confession for today. But yes, I think some people do overeat. It could be because, like I said, a lot of people get depressed around this time for, I'll just say, obvious reasons. And some people enjoy family and friends and they just eat. But I'll be 56, God willing, on Friday. When you get a little bit older, you really have to pay attention to certain things because you your risk for developing things that they're higher, and um, that little that little bulge around the belly,
Okay.
that can be more difficult to get rid of. So I'll go on mute, but that's just what I wanted to add.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's true. I mean, like I said, I like her, I wasn't ever a big dessert person, but I could definitely eat. And I like, there are certain foods that I will only eat when that for the holidays. Like I don't eat macaroni and cheese during the rest of the year.
For
Even
real?
though it tastes really good. Oh no, it's too freaking fatty. Oh my gosh, all that cheese. I don't eat well, I don't really eat pork, but in the past I would eat ham every Christmas. You know what I mean? That's the only time I would have it. But I would have ham at that point. And then there's all the different meals, there's the big breakfasts, there's the big, and we can go overboard. It's like, okay, this is my cue to just become a heathen and just it's an excuse. And I don't know about anybody else, but I feel like garbage when I do that. I don't feel good when I eat. And I wish that, I guess daddy did try to get me, but I just ate a lot of pickles back then. But to teach people while they're younger how to moderate, be moderate, have smaller portions of whatever you eating. As a young person, even though they're very hungry and they can eat more and their metabolism high, if we were trained in that early, it wouldn't be so hard when our body starts changing and we can't handle that caloric intake.
Absolutely. I wanted to introduce Shaq to you, Cynda, and the
Uh-huh.
rest of the panel. So welcome, Shaq.
Hi, Shaq.
Peace, peace.
How you doing? You got something to say about health and the holidays?
Oh man, health and the holidays.
Hmm.
They don't go together. I know that. For a fact. They they the polar opposites. Hey. But
That,
you know what? It's all ways, and I don't. We've been trained in school to say the alternative, right? But there's other ways you can let's say indulge without going going crazy. You know what I mean? Things like sweet potatoes is always going to be a good something good to have in your diet. You know what I mean? It's a low glycemic. Things like the root vegetables like squashes, uh, red potatoes is good, purple potatoes is good, acorn squash is good, pumpkins is good. Uh, those things are always going to be good. You know what I'm saying? Just find other ways to kind of season them up and jazz them up with your different herbs and stuff, spices and stuff, cinnamon. So
mhm. So be conscious of what you're eating. You can eat stuff that tastes good, but that's also good for you.
correct.
Right. Right. That's the key. I mean, I know, like for me, I love eggnog. That is just like horrible.
Really?
Okay? It's not good for you.
It isn't?
It's terrible. But it's like all the most unhealthy things because we've been taught to celebrate with food. That's how most people celebrate. is with eating the most rich, unhealthy foods and drinking the most alcohol. That's how we celebrate, with overdoing it, and retraining ourselves and our families to always be moderate and celebrate other ways. What are ways that you can celebrate that are proactive and healthy, instead of just stuffing your face with, as 5,000 calories. I don't know. What do you think, Sadi?
I'm sorry, I had to take a break there for a minute. So we're talking about food and health.
We're talking about holiday and moderation. And I know this is really something that you're dealing with right now, because you've had to recently change your eating habits a little bit and what you can eat. So how do you handle staying healthy during the holidays?
Just moderating. Well, for me, it's what I'm eating, and not so much. Like I can still eat sweets. I just have to make sure it's low on the processed sugar of what I'm eating. And I used to be that person that would have the Thanksgiving plate and it would all be mixed together. Like I like mixing all my stuff. There's some people who like their food separate. And some people who like their food all mixed up. I used to be the person that had put everything and it just be all running together, mixed up. But now I'm very much, I gotta have my single items. I gotta have my vegetables, I have my meat by itself, and if you do it that way, I feel like you eat slower and you become aware of how much you are eating, and you'll slow down. I also be a really fast eater. So like when you eat really fast, you can just keep on eating without getting full. But when you eat slow and you actually like taste the food and you appreciate the food, and then it's slow, like you get fuller faster. I notice is that, so I usually end up not eating as much when I eat slower and when I really enjoy the taste of whatever I'm eating. Like energy really is about everything, including what you consume in your body. So on this, supposed to be a day of thanks, we should really be giving thanks to the nutrients and the sustenance that we are feeding our bodies, and the taste of it. We should be savoring the taste of it versus the act of it. So that's how I think about it in terms of just consumption of food, period, but also just appreciating the food that we're going to be getting soon, that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I talked with, unfortunately didn't work that much with, but I got enough information with her to understand, with this really well known and respected nutritionist out of California, when I was going through some major issues with my body, and I was trying to figure out how to eat to hopefully stop the situation that was happening. It turned out to be something else. It wasn't a gastro issue. But one of the things she said, the way that people eat in the blue, I think it's called the blue areas or the blue countries. That's the countries where the people live very, very long lives.
Blue zones.
Blue zones, yes.
I did a show on it. I did a blog talk show on the blue zones. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. So the way they eat, Shaq, the way they eat, and I'm sure you know this, is they don't eat, like you say, their stuff mixed together. They eat water, fruit. That's the first meal. That's the first thing they eat, and they eat it alone. Because what people don't understand is different types of food process different ways, and the enzymes process different ways. So if you mix food together, your body, something is not going to get processed, and that's how we get impacted. That's how the nutrients don't go into our bodies, because we're mixing all the food together. We're supposed to eat fruit first, which is like apples or berries or fruits that are, and I guess you would like that, though, because that's kind of like having your sweets first. But those water fruits will help you break down a lot of the rest of what you're eating. And if you have, say, papaya, if you know you're going to eat meat of any kind, that is a good fruit to eat because that has enzymes in it that breaks down the meat, right? Any kind of protein like that. So the first thing you do is that. And the second thing you do is you eat your water vegetables. So you have broccoli, you have your salads, you have minus oily salad dressings. You're not supposed to have all that stuff. You're not supposed to have a ton of oil. You're not supposed to have any oil, supposedly, according to this lady. I don't agree with it because I don't like it. But anyway, so fruit, vegetables, water vegetables. And then you can have your starch of whatever sorts. All the potatoes that Shaq was mentioning, anything like that, right? Then you eat that. And then if you're going to have any kind of protein, that's when you have it. That is how those people eat. I'm sure I'm missing out some steps, but they eat one thing at a time. And because they're eating it like that and they're eating slowly, all their food digests. They don't have any bloating. It all eliminates, and everybody lives to their 120 and they're healthy. So I wouldn't suggest that that's what you have to do, but that's what they do. And so I
You know
try
what's
to
crazy?
do that.
What's crazy is I've never heard of that before, and I never read about how to properly eat. The reason why I eat like this is I have a condition that I have to be very conscious about what causes inflammation in my body. And I now go off of how the food makes me feel when I eat it.
Mm.
And so I adjusted how I eat, not because I knew what to do, but because I felt the best doing it that way,
Mm-hmm.
with the water. And like you said, the fruits, like I usually eat my fruits in the morning, and then I do follow with meat. But so it's just like, it was just off of straight feeling.
It was
And
a
so,
natural instinct, and you
yep,
were listening to your body.
yep.
So, and it's crazy how if you eat in a certain way and in a certain amount at certain times, you feel better. You don't need caffeine. You don't need, you don't need any excess stuff. If you're getting your liquids that I know you do, James. James loves his steak.
Ain't nothing wrong with steak as long as it's grass fed
Yeah, grass fed.
and
Yeah,
not loaded with all this other stuff out here.
yeah.
Actually, what Miss Cynda just said is 100% true. We have another guest, Frank Nitty. Frank, we're speaking about holiday health, but I wanted to chime in really quickly. Many of you know, and for those of you that don't, back in May, I had to go to the hospital. I had a really, really bad pneumonia. Actually, it was double pneumonia. I already have lupus. Both of my lungs are damaged. The first week, I almost didn't make it. The doctors and nurses both said I would need oxygen therapy for the rest of my life. I was in there for 3 weeks. I was discharged on June the 16th, went back to work June the 17th. I have not used any of the oxygen. I have it with me, but I haven't used it. So somebody was watching over me. But while I was there, I learned that I have type 2 diabetes from using prednisone for my lupus since 1992. So I have to prick my fingers 3 times a day and administer insulin. So When I was younger, I could eat anything. I mean, half gallons of ice cream. But like I said, I was active. I used to run track. I was younger then. I can still do certain things now, but because diabetes on top of lupus,
Mm.
I'll just say this to the younger people and maybe some older people. If you can control, how can I put it? Don't put yourself in a position where you have to do that because it's inconvenient and it can be scary because your glucose can either be too high or too low. So that's just more time out of your life that you have to spend doing something. Again, this was brought on from prednisone, which is a
Mm-hmm.
steroid to keep my inflammation down. So yes, Lottie, I understand that 100%. I'm a vegan, so um, a lot of
May
things.
I ask you?
I'm sorry.
May I ask you what is your A1C, if you don't mind?
My A1C at one time was a whopping 14 something. And when I found that out, I almost fell out. I said, how in the world? But I learned that prednisone can throw your sugar up. So before I
Mm.
left the hospital, and it's still high, but it went all the way back down to 9.8. I've lost since being out pretty close to 30 pounds now, but they regulated my
That's
carbs.
awesome.
I was on a, oh God, the carb diet they put me on. It got to the point where I didn't even want to eat anymore. They had me eating at least 3 times a day. I'm like, I don't want this. I didn't want to eat anymore. But I became more conscious about portions. And
Mm-hmm.
just like Miss Cynda said, um, eating your food, enjoying it, as Miss Sadi said, portions was the main thing. Uh, Eliminating a lot of the sugars. People have to learn how to read labels properly. Just because it says low sugar, okay, but turn the can or whatever around, see what else is in there. If you have additives or anything that's uh, artificially flavored, you may want to look into that more. And I don't want to go any further into this because I know a lot of you would want to, but this isn't the time for it. But I will say this: many of the things that we consume here, they're banned in other countries. So that's what I wanted to say really quickly. So BJ, are you okay? You keep coming in and out. Frank again, welcome. This is Miss Cinda Williams, of course. And
No, I'm
Hello.
fine.
How you doing? How
No,
you doing?
I told you I had to get to my destination. I was out. So
no worries. Hello,
now
Frank.
I'm straight now.
How you
Hey.
Reestablished.
doing, Cindy? How's everybody
But I
doing?
did find out something that you know what's going on. My great
Salute,
aunt,
salute.
86 years old, she went to the hospital today. Don't know for what yet. So yeah, we say that. Doesn't want to bring that up. But um, you
But
know
you got a
what's so funny?
smartphone?
Hold on for one
You got a
second.
smartphone?
King BJ, hold on for one second. Let Frank get a chance to meet
Oh,
everyone,
right, right.
please. No worries.
What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing?
Hey, what's up?
All right, salute, salute. Thanks for bringing me back on once again, Doaz. You know what I mean? How's everybody doing?
All
Yeah,
right, man.
thank you, Frank. Thank
Oh
you
yeah,
for
oh yeah.
thank you for joining us.
Yeah, and, sorry about that diagnosis of diabetes, man. I'm sorry to hear about that, Doaz, man. It's always like you said, all this stuff that's you know what I mean, that they give us and they ban in other countries. That just goes to show right there. I think, you know, all this other stuff, you know, I guess they got Netanyahu, you about to be brought to the criminal courts, but I want to see some of these people, you know what I'm saying? I want to see them brought to the criminal courts for a lot of this stuff, man, for basically espionage, for basically poisoning
Frank,
our
we're
blood.
going to stay on holiday health. Holiday health. We're talking about foods. Healthy foods.
You know, some espionage, definitely some espionage going on with these people.
I hear you, dude.
No,
But I understand what he's saying,
He's
though.
on point.
I
He
know.
was saying they should be tried for poisoning us because they
That's
are
that's what he's talking about. The foods aren't healthy, and they need to be tried for that.
Yeah, man,
it is. It's got all kinds of
crazy.
heavy metals in it.
It's getting bad. It's getting really bad. I mean, you know, from the lowest stuff to you know, from stuff candy all the way down to you know, basically, you know, I mean, 5-star meals are banned here and there. You see what I'm saying? So that's a big problem. So if you're eating anything from candy to actual nutritious so-called meals, it could be a problem for you. So they're poison. I mean, if the amount of malnutritious food that they're giving is fake food that they're giving us, let's not even talk about this fruit that's not being, I guess it's being manufactured, not really grown. I don't know how that works. But when I don't see no seeds in watermelons and stuff like that, man, I don't see no seeds in a lot of this stuff, this fruit, that I'm already knowing that it's a problem right there. I really call it biological warfare. I mean, well, really kind of chemical warfare, because they're putting the chemicals in the food. So, man, to be honest with you, it's greedy politicians, I think, that are involved in this type of stuff. But
Okay, Frank, did you have anything that you would like to add as far as how we can stay healthier during the holidays? Okay,
Yeah,
because again, keep in mind, this is YouTube and how things go. Okay,
yeah, just man,
thank you.
change ingredients. You know, if you're gonna, I mean, these cheeses, I don't know about no cheeses. I don't think I would be doing any cheeses or anything like that. And if I did, I mean, you got to kind of watch out for the vegan cheese and vegan stuff too. So it's kind of like iffy. But just change a lot of these ingredients. If you're gonna do traditional so-called Thanksgiving, I wouldn't use a lot of these ingredients. I wouldn't eat a lot of this stuff. Maybe substitute certain foods for other food. If you're gonna do you know what I'm saying, macaroni or something, substitute that for some greens or collard greens or something like that. You know, or, you know, that's what I would think. You know, that's what yeah, definitely. No alcohol. That alcohol's that. I mean, that's like
I'm with you on
in
that one.
moderation, but yeah, in moderation, but yeah, that has a lot of sugar. We just talking about sugar. That's one of the most deadliest things. But and if you do make macaroni, if you do make certain recipes, because I know people like to with the yams and the sweet potatoes, man. I know people like to throw, man. I know people like to throw Kool-Aid amounts of sugar up in them in that bad boy. So I wouldn't recommend none of that if you are going to eat something like that, because it's already sweet. That kind of stuff is already sweet anyway. So for people to throw all types of extra sugar in there is really crazy to me. I was just make my teeth hurt just thinking about it right now. You know what I'm saying?
And honestly, the thing about it is, you know, we're here at the holidays. Tomorrow, you know, next couple of days, we got this, and so I don't think people are gonna change overnight. But if you make a decision, like I have a friend who I really care about, and he has, I've seen him eat a lot of sugar, you know, and he shouldn't, right? And he says, but I don't like that. I don't like this and I don't like that. And I always say to him, the reason why you don't like it is because you haven't trained your taste buds. Your taste buds, first of all, you're addicted to sugar. And because it's addictive, especially processed sugar, it's addictive. And you don't like something just because your tongue has never experienced it. So say sweet potatoes and instead, or yams, instead of making them quote unquote candied yams, butter, a little butter. And how about some walnuts? They're sweet already. That's why they're called that. You know what I'm saying? Yams, they're sweet. But because we're so used to and addicted to processed sugar in them, they don't taste right to us because we don't know what they really taste like. But if you train yourself, you train your tongue to new things, your tongue then won't like the sugar because it gets used to how things really taste. So it has to be a conscious effort and choice that you make and for yourself and with your family to get used to things. I remember when I used to drink whole milk, cow's milk. I'm drinking from a cow, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to say it's unhealthy, but for me, not good.
I can't do it. You just made me sick on my stomach saying
Right.
So I have to do plant-based milk, and I make my own.
Exactly. So it takes time, though, for a person's tongue to adapt. Our tongues change just like the rest of us changes. We lose our cells all the time.
You
We're
know what I
completely
noticed?
new people, and so it takes time to reestablish your taste buds to be attracted to or like certain foods. But it never will if you keep saying, well, I don't like that. Then you will have to deal with the diabetes, you will have to deal with the high blood pressure and all the other diseases that come with those man-made processed things. Okay, I'm sorry. Sadi, what did you say?
Yeah, I was just noticing that in order to really stay away from all the poison or all the harmful substances in food, it takes time. You have to slow down. We live in a I need it now society. Um, and in order to actually be healthy, to live, you have to take time. You have to slow down. You have to prep your meals. You have to it takes time to be healthy. It does.
Yeah, and it can be fun, I think. I think it can become a part of our habits, if we decide, like, I don't go out to eat. I don't go out to eat unless I'm with someone else. I eat at home. I like to eat at home. I'm not a foodie, so I don't go crazy, but I like to eat at home because I like to know what I'm eating. I don't know what I'm eating when I eat somewhere else. I don't know how much salt they're putting on it. I don't know how much whatever they're putting on it. And it's just about changing habits. Shaq, do you have anything you want to say about all this?
Oh, yeah, man. I was looking up something. I was trying to get the name of it. I think it's called Genema. Are you anybody ever familiar with a plant or a herb called Genema?
Mm-mm.
Let's see, Genema. Now, this particular plant is so sweet when you put it on your tongue. It's a way to curb that sweet and try to balance off that sweetness that's in our tongue. So I'm looking it up right now. Give me 1 second. Find the name. Give me a second.
That's why I really like the Ayurvedic type of eating, because with that type of eating, you incorporate all the different flavors that your tongue wants, right? You put the sweet, you put the savory, put the tangy, you put all the different kinds of things in as herbs or whatever in your food, and you are satisfied. And you don't crave the apple pie anymore, and you don't crave the cranberry sauce anymore when you have healthy sweet within your meal. It totally curves that desire for those things. So looking into the Ayurvedic way of eating is also an option for people if you're looking to get healthier. You find it, Shat?
Yeah, let me read this right quick, if y'all don't mind. Let me because I Googled Genema. I'm trying to spell it right. And I Googled, and Google, it got a couple questions on it. And it's talking for us blood sugar. And one of the questions is, um, can Genema raise the blood sugar? And the answer is no. And it gives the research, 2001 research, and it says the reason why. Um, Hold on, let me read it right quick. It says, okay, hold on, let me get back to it. Okay, they did research in 2001, a study. It found that people with high blood sugar who took a Genema leaf. It's actually called Genema leaf extract. So people who had high blood sugars took Genema leaf abstract for 90 days at lower levels. And it says, let's see, other research has shown that Genema helps people with type 2 diabetes. It says it maintains lower blood sugar controls. Let's see how it works. Okay. It says Genema contains well, I can't say that word. Genemic. Genemic is GYMENNMIC. If y'all can pronounce that word for me.
Mhm.
So I guess that genemic acid, which uh, can decrease plasma glucose. It also increases insulin secretion. Uh, it reduces the taste of sweetness. See,
Mhm.
it also increases uh, it says the precipitation of bitterness. Uh, so you guys could check this Genema out. I've heard about a couple of herbalists talking about the Genema and how it can reset your
Can you
taste
spell
buds.
that for us?
Yes, it's G
Mm-hmm.
Y
Mm-hmm.
M N E M A. I guess that's how you
Awesome.
say it.
And so we'll just look up Genema leaf extract, its
Mm-hmm.
benefits, and
Mm-hmm.
go from there. And as Doeyes suggested, always consult with your physician for medical advice.
Absolutely.
But this is stuff you can find on your own. But I've never heard of that. Thank you so much
Right. I'm
for
thinking
that.
out one more thing too that we can use as maintenance. And let's just use the word maintenance for everyday maintenance of our own, life. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do your investigation on the different properties and the uses of baking soda.
Banking, yes, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And please, because I had an A1C, like I said, at 13, and I was trying to figure out what I was doing. And with the taking the stuff, pills and stuff, they was giving me, making it worse, so it's flame and everything. Gut flora was all messed up. And for some reason, I started doing the baking soda water with the lemon water, and that was the only thing I was able to settle my stomach, you know. But after I was doing that, because that was like the only thing I was able to put on my stomach, because I was, regurgitating from, my gut flora being messed up from the pills and eating all different types of stuff. But when I went back to my doctor, my A1C was like 5.1.
Mm. Wow. Well, I've been hearing a lot about the baking soda, like just putting some in water every day
Mm-hmm.
and the benefits of it. Again, consult your doctor, but look into that. It's supposed to do amazing, amazing things for your body. Um, there are so many things to research. If you decide to really take an interest in your own health before you get sick, you could really make yourself very healthy so you don't get sick. And if you've already gotten sick, there are ways to heal yourself
Yeah.
by changing your habits, what you eat, how you eat, when you eat, how much you eat. We're these portion sizes, if you do eat out, are massive. We don't need all that food. We just don't. And we don't need to eat, for 20 hours a day. So there are just so many things to research for that. King BJ, do you have anything you want to say about it?
Yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
actually I'm in nutrition, so I will say this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I've been moving around, but I finally got settled.
Mm-hmm.
And now I want to bring this up. Cause sometimes I was out missing. So yeah, Frank, I didn't know you was on until you came on. Then I thought you had talked already. But let me bring this up. You know, you were talking about Thanksgiving and health and everything, the holidays. Well, I stick to my normal diet. Water, black tea if I do drink tea, and so forth and like. So just because it's a day doesn't mean that you know, indulge in overeating. Because one thing about it, I used to date a lady who was a nurse, right? And she get off kind of late after the day after Thanksgiving. So why you getting off so late? I just asked the question. I already knew the answer. More people come in the hospital between Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's than anybody from all that week. See, a lot of people don't know this. It's also good for the hospitals and the pharmacies and things because they know you overeat, you're going to get sick or you're going to have some indigestion. So come on my way. It's all one hand washing the other. Might get diabetes. As a matter of fact, it's funny though, Eyes, that you brought up that because me and him were actually talking about this earlier today about 12 o'clock about sometimes the medication can give it to you or the stuff they're putting you on. It may not be what you eat. How do you contract it? They tell you it's type 2. How do you know? They don't really tell you. It may not be true. And they don't even tell you how you can reverse it.
Did y'all know that type 3 diabetes is considered dementia? And this is by clinical studies.
Yes. Yeah, it's the same disease. That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Sugar in the brain, sugar in the eyes, sugar in the brain, sugar in the, sugar in the skin, all it is processed toxins and poisons in the blood in the body. But one thing for diabetics, definitely type 2 diabetic, good fats. So start eating and consuming more good fats like your avocados and your different seeds and your different nuts. Obviously you want to be more organic and more raw. You know what I mean? Lay back on the processed meats because guess what's in processed meats?
Sugar.
Ding, 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 ding.
It's in everything. It's in everything.
And I heard rye bread is a little bit better for diabetic people. A little bit better. Sourdough bread and rye bread. And also you got to look and see if that's where's that being processed from too. I mean, it's like a treasure hunt we on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's why I think it's good to, start making our own stuff, making our own sauces, making our everything, Mr. James Williams, do you have any thoughts about this?
No, I've learned a lot. What I should and should not do. Yeah, so I appreciate the giving of the knowledge of what to eat and how to eat. I don't eat that much, so I just don't indulge that much. The only thing about it, I do have one thing to say, is that Thanksgiving, I have to work this Thanksgiving, but Thanksgiving, I like to eat the leg. I've always enjoyed that part of the turkey. Okay, it's not that I get it every Thanksgiving. However, I was thinking about it this year. I guess I'll eat that leg. But lo and behold, since I'll be working, my significant lady, she said, I'll just bring some sliced turkey to the job. and some cranberries. I said, that's not what I'm used to. I would like to have the way, it's Thanksgiving, you're being thankful. But she said, but turn your thankful into what you can do for your clients.
Mm.
And since I'm working and making a little money, I said, okay. However, I just don't eat that much. And I enjoy not eating that much. And so, but I do appreciate all the suggestions that have been given as it relates to what we should and what we should not do, and be careful in regards to diabetes, et cetera, and so forth. I don't have it and would not like to have it. So
That's a
thank you all for
blessing.
thank you. Thank you all for your gifts of knowledge.
Absolutely. Nobody wants that. And if you can avoid it, please do. And one thing I wanted to say really quickly, and I know Frank has something I'm sure he would like to say. I think many people um, they when they celebrate holidays, they're pretty much some people are in a mindset. I'm not sure if you remember the movie Soul Food. It was a beautiful movie, but it made me cry at the end, especially what happened with Big Mama. But the bottom line was the foods and how they were prepared. Yes, everyone gathered together, but many of the things um, they tend to be unhealthy. And she had diabetes, and well, for those of you that saw that movie, saw what happened at the end. So basically, again, as I'm saying, if you can avoid, because some things are hereditary. I mean, some of the nurses knew that they were going to end up with it, and they were young and healthy, but because it ran in the family. So that's another thing. Make sure you all get your checkups. But if you can avoid things now while you're still pretty much young, because we have a lot of obese children from all cultures that I see now I never used to see growing up. I would, because I personally, it's not something that I enjoy having to do, and go to the bathroom and hide from the coworkers to, like I said, check my glucose 3 times a day. It's an inconvenience, and I have to do it. But if you can avoid doing that, then please try. It's no fun. So I'll go on mute, and I believe that Frank may have something to say, and then I wanted to put up a. Well, I'm gonna put this up first, and then Frank, you can go ahead, and I want you all to think about this as well. This is something that I don't get enough of, and some of you, especially you, Miss Cynda, may be able to resonate with it.
Sleep. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night. To help you sleep, you can make sure your bed is comfortable. Turn off electronics an hour and a half to 2 hours before bed. Keep your room dark. Limit water intake at least 45 minutes to an hour before bed. Sure enough.
So we're going to end with
Thank
that. But
you.
Mr. Frank, if you'd like to add, please do. And thank you all so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're not quite done. Frank, did you
Mr.
have
Frank,
something to say?
I was waiting on Mr. Frank. Okay, well, if he comes back, he can go ahead and add. But what do you all think about that last slide?
I think
Yeah,
I got
sorry
to
about
work.
that. I got a phone call. People always call me when I'm on live or something. It's weird. But but yeah, man. Definitely got to watch what we eat, man. Watch what we into the intake of everything. They got some apps too. I forget what the app is called, where you can scan, like you go to the grocery store before you buy the food, you can scan the labels and stuff like that. I forget what it's called, but that's a good tool right there. Having something like that available, because a lot of this stuff, man. Shoot, I got people in my family got high blood pressure, man. So I know how it is. You see what I'm saying? And got had diabetes and stuff like that. So yeah, man. And it's like, it's weird how they try to just, how, excuse me, the stats are that like we got it. Like we are, excuse me, like only black people are higher, have it in a higher dose, just like sickle cell, right? It's kind of interesting how all that is, it's all by design. But yeah, I know how it is, man. I know I got family that got both, man, and it ain't no joke. You see what I'm saying? Like you were saying, don't matter if you're skinny, young, don't none of that matter, It runs in the family. So I'm a strong person and believer of preventative measures. You see what I'm saying? Preventive action, preventing stuff from happening. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And it's just time that we as communities start helping each other,
Right.
to understand the forces that we've been dealing with, and understanding that we have control over our health, and the decisions, everything is up to us. It doesn't have to be that we're sick like this. It doesn't have to be. It's been an agenda, and we know that now, so we can start being proactive and changing it. I will say this right quick before I ask everybody, because we're nearing the end, to give information about your platforms or whatever, however people can reach you, because I don't want to stop the show before that. But sleep is important. I know. I it was a long story, and about 10 years ago I went through something where I did not sleep hardly at all for a month, and I ended up in a hospital because of it. A whole bunch of other things happened, but one of the main things that happened that caused me the worst issues with my mind was the lack of sleep. You have to get quality rest, because your body cannot handle not having it. It affects your entire day if you're not getting quality sleep. And that list that Doe showed us is very helpful. And I'm a hypnotherapist also, and so I understand that one of the main reasons why most people don't go right to sleep or wake up is because of the processing level. There's different levels to get to sleep, and one of the primary ones is the processing level. That's when you're lying there and you're thinking about yesterday, tomorrow, what are we going to do, worrying, money, bills, whatever issues you're dealing with. That is when we often think about it, because we're quiet, we're not distracted and whatever. And that you can get caught up in a processing loop where you're thinking about the same things over and over and over again, and it's very difficult to do. And I will give you just one little gem that helps me, an insomniac for years, to get out of the processing level. Fantasize. Think of your favorite place, your favorite thing to do, your favorite person, whatever, and visualize that. For me, it was for years a beach. I would imagine myself walking on a beach and feeling the warm sand, grains of sand between my toes, and the heat of the sun on my back, and the cool breeze, and the smell of the salt water, and the sound of the seagulls. And as I saw and felt and heard and used all of those elements, I would start to drop off, because that is taking me out of processing and into hypnosis, which is then takes you into sleep. So I think the anxiety that I think it's epidemic. Anxiety is an epidemic, and it really crashes on us before we try to sleep. That's why turning off devices are so important, because it's already speeding up your thinking processes, and the light is affecting your mental awareness. It's making you think it's daytime. you have to turn that down and off, stop listening, stop watching, and allow yourself to fantasize and go into hypnosis. And then you will have quality sleep. Even if for some people, quality sleep is 4 or 5 hours. Some people it's 7, some people it's 9. It depends on your age and a bunch of other things. But sleep is so important. The melatonin, the how the cortisol drops. There's just so many things. That this show, again, another 5 hours. But before we go, I hope that helps somebody. Can everybody, starting with James, I'll call out your names and please tell us where we can support you. James Williams, can you start?
How you can
Support
support me?
you, like, or check you out, your company, whatever. Know
Well,
me? Mm-hmm.
if you would like, I have a 501c3 entitled Numa.
No.
And it's found on Facebook if you care to check me out. I do a lot of work, therapy, etc., and so forth. And so, and on my Facebook page, James W. Williams, uh, I make statements periodically. And if you want to read it, you can. You don't have to. Um, but my work is vital and very important to me. Thank you.
Thank you, James. All right, Frank, how can we support you?
Thanks again, Doa, for bringing me back on here, and nice meeting you, Cynthia. I appreciate everything. So, yeah, so you can check me out at XX Frank Nitty XX on YouTube. Also, the same on Instagram, and I also have another Instagram. It's Frank Jones 8115. Yeah, I try to put out some. I try not to make my content be too political, but so it's current events. I try to do a lot of current events, and I try to break down a lot of a lot of these hot topics too, man, and try to
Awesome.
have everybody think from a intellectual perspective, man, and critical thinking.
Mhm. Thank you so
Salute,
much.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we'll support that. Y'all check out
Appreciate it.
Frank. Shaq, how about you, sir?
Yes, yes. I so appreciate it, though, and everybody on the panel, man, for inviting me to come on. Another good one. Hope everybody take notes. You know what I mean? Because at this point, um, it's all hands on deck. You know what I mean? So all good information. Each one teach one, and we can reach some. You know what I mean? So you can catch me on Instagram, Shaq Waller. You see the name there, Shaq Waller on Instagram, or Shaq Edwards, CHAQ Edwards on Facebook. Like I say, periodically. Normally, I get up in the morning times, man, and just have my conversation with the universe. So I would love anybody that's up in the morning times, join me. We can have a conversation in the morning times when it's the best time to think and get your thoughts off and tap into the universe.
Thank you. Thank you, Shaq. Sadi.
Thank you, Doe, and thanks, sis, and everybody on here for a good conversation. You can find me on YouTube or TikTok. My name is right here. It's pretty much the Most High's baby girl, no apostrophe, just all one word. In order to find me, and I'm on Instagram at La Leona Bonita, and I'll put that in the chat. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. And King BJ.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, yeah, good show. And you can get me at this channel right here, King BJ Johnson, Bernard Johnson Facebook, Bernard 1120 on Instagram, 1987 BJ1 on Twitter. I think it's King BJ Fitness 32. KingBJMedia.com as well. Yes, though, it's another good show. I'm glad we talked about health because that's the number one issue in society right now that a lot of people not talking about. And you got people like you said, obese children, and I see them all the time from the bus stops to walking down the street, and it needs to be dealt with.
Yeah, thank you so much. And you can reach me. I'm uh, Cynda Williams 615 on TikTok, as long as it lasts. At Cynda Will on Instagram, Cynda Will on Facebook, Cynda Williams on Facebook. I have Cynda Williams on YouTube. So please come by, check all of us out, support us, and we'll support each other. Let's follow each other. Let's share. Let's like. Let's comment. Let's participate and help each other grow, so that we can change some things together. It takes us being together and unified. Joe Eyes, thank you so much, honey, for always giving us a wonderful platform to share our hope and our expertise with others. I'll let you take it out. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, Cindy.
Mhm.
Thank you all again for another thought-provoking episode of Adult Conversations with Cynda, family, and friends. Happy holidays to all of you that celebrate, and I hope that each and every one of you were able to glean something that you can incorporate in your daily life, if not now, in the future, because that is what we're forging towards, the future. And prayerfully, we can all do that in a healthier way.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you, Joe.
night. Happy holidays.
You as well.
Blessing.
Blessings to you as well. And to the members, thank you so much. Thank you to the new members. Thank you to the subscribers, the mods, and those who came in to listen. And thank you to those from Facebook that took a moment out of your time to come and listen as well. Everyone, please, again, be well, be safe, and be healthier. Till next time, bye bye for now.